In this video, traders, we're going to look at the hidden gems and nuggets spoken by Jesse Livermore. Stay tuned. Hey traders and investors, a very warm welcome to you. Okay, so Jesse Livermore, famous book. Have I got it in front of me? Yes, of course I have. You guys know I always have it on bookshelf. Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, great book. Read it multiple times. Look how dog-eared this thing is. And I have a hard copy with notes on by the side. Because, listen, whilst Jesse Livermore was by far from the perfect trader, he had booms and busts. And ultimately, you know, we know what happened to Jesse Livermore. But he learned a lot in his trading career. And actually, every time you read that book or you go through it and you just see, you think there's so many extra nuggets that you need to take on board as a trader. And this is what this video is all about, is the hidden nuggets that Jesse Livermore mentioned in the Reminiscence of a Stock Operator book. Okay, the first one is learning how to lose. Quote from the book. An old broker once said to me, if I'm walking along a railroad track and I see a train coming towards me at 60 miles an hour, do I keep walking on the ties? Friend, I sidestep. I do not even pat myself on the back for being so wise and prudent. It sounds so obvious, right? But again, the best traders in the world, the very greatest, including Jesse Livermore, says, hey, when you are wrong, you are wrong. If you see that train coming, you just get out of the way and let that thing go past. You don't try and be clever. You don't try and jump on it. You don't try and do anything. In other words, if a trade is going against you and it doesn't look right, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, cut the thing and move on. Learn that as a good habit. Learn it, systematic. You don't even think about it. The comment here doesn't even pat himself on the back for being so wise and prudent. It should be second nature. Another comment here, losing money is the least of my troubles. A loss never bothers me after I take it. I forget it overnight. But being wrong and not taking the loss, that is what does damage to the pocketbook and to the soul. Perfectly put. It's not the loss. You can move on from a loss. A little loss here, a little loss there, medium loss here, even that's not too bad. But the big losses, and not only does it damage the pocketbook, i.e. the account, it damages your trading psychology. It damages your emotional capital. What he said here, it damages the soul. All right. And he's talked here, final one on this one, guys. Comment from the book again. Of all speculative blunders, there are few worse than trying to average a losing game. My cotton deal proved to the hilt that a little later. Always sell what shows you a loss and keep what shows you a profit. This was obviously the wise thing to do and was so well known to me that even now I marvel at myself for doing the reverse. If you've read the book, and if you haven't, I recommend it, obviously. He had a cotton trade. It was losing trade. He adding to the trade, hoping it would come back. It was just the worst thing ever, and it cost him an awful lot of money. He learned a big lesson from it. But the lesson we can learn is, and also Paul Tudor Jones has this up on his screen, losers, average losers, just don't average into losing positions. Get out of them. In fact, averaging is the worst thing you can do. All right, next thing is the importance of understanding general conditions. We get so caught up in traders looking at the short-term chart, looking at the 5 minute, maybe the 1 minute, maybe the tape, maybe the 4 hourly, whatever it may be. But often we need to step back and look at the bigger picture. That is the underlying driving force behind the stock, the commodity, the whatever we're trading. From the book again, I still had much to learn, but I knew what to do. No more floundering, no more half-right methods. Tape reading was an important part of the game. So was beginning at the right time. So was sticking to your position. But my greatest discovery was that a man must study general conditions to size them so as to be able to anticipate probabilities. He basically was the first kind of guy who realized, hey, it's a global macro view. Now, I'm not saying we go out there and study global macro. The point is, all we need to do is remember this thing is an uptrend. This thing is a downtrend. This thing is a range. That is the overall conditions, and that is what's going to give us the biggest boost behind the trade. Yes, you might think, well, I'm trading on a 1 minute chart. It doesn't affect it. It will affect it because even though, yes, you're going to have down days, you're going to have big moves that you can scalp on the short side. If the wind is behind it to the upside, the likelihood is that day is going to be up. The likelihood is that hour period is going to be up. The likelihood is that 1 minute candle is going to be up. Not always, but it's just that slight likelihood. And knowing that gives you an extra edge in the markets. All right, guys, patience and the dangers of overtrading. Well, you know, if there's something that hits most traders, I would say this is the biggest one. Overtrading is the biggest killer. Jesse Livermore from the book. It sounds very easy to say that all you have to do is to watch the tape, establish your resistance points, and be ready to trade along the line of least resistance as soon as you've determined it. Right? It does. It makes sense. I've got my strategy. All I've got to do is pull the trigger. But in actual practice, a man has to guard against many things, and most of all against himself. That is against human nature. And that is the key thing, guys, with short-term trading as well as investing, is sitting on your hands, not succumbing to the temptation to want to trade. Being patient, waiting. You will undo all your hard work if you overtrade, if you're trading stuff that isn't part of your strategy, that isn't part of your plan, that isn't part of your edge. Right. Number 4, price action and the path of least resistance. Let's have a look at a comment from Jesse Livermore here in the book. There is what I call the behavior of a stock. Actions that enable you to judge whether or not it's going to proceed in accordance with the precedents that your observation has noted. If a stock doesn't act right, don't touch it. Because being unable to tell precisely what is wrong, you cannot tell which way it is going. No diagnosis, no prognosis. No prognosis, no profit. So, long-winded way of basically saying, hey, you need to work out where the path of least resistance is. Watch how the price response. What is the price response? Watch the price response. We've talked about this in terms of short-term setups. How does the price respond when it's approaching a high? How does price respond when it breaks through? How does price respond when it pulls back? You know, these are the things that we need to know as a trader. And, you know, Jesse Livermore goes on to say, you know, prices move on the line of least resistance. They will do whatever comes easiest. Therefore, if they go up, if there's less resistance to an advance than to a decline, and vice versa. And that's our job as traders. Where's the supply demand coming? Where's the path of least resistance, as Mr. Livermore puts it? Where does price want to go? And then generating a trade idea from that. All right, next one, guys. Big trades versus sitting on hands. Comment here. Men who can both be right and sit tight are uncommon. I found it one of the hardest things to learn, but it is only after a stock operator has firmly grasped this that he can make big money. And final thing here, he put, hey, it was never my thinking that made the big money for me. It was always my sitting. Got that? My sitting tight. So you've got to trade on. It's a big trade, whatever it is. It's a good position. Don't meddle with it. Do not touch it. Let the market pay you for being right. You do not get paid for frequency of trades. You get paid for making a correct call on the market, a correct trade, managing your risk. And once that trade is working, you let that thing run for as long as you can. You want a reason to hold, not close it. You don't want a reason to close. Don't look for reasons to close it. You want to be holding as long as possible. And Jesse Livermore says, hey, I made my millions by sitting tight. And many of the great traders say that, hey, if you're in a great trade, don't touch it. Don't meddle with it. All right, the final one is self-mastery. You know, Jesse Livermore comments quite a lot on this, is that, you know, you are the greatest impediment to your own success. You need to understand your own weaknesses and your strengths. Your decision-making process is affecting how you're trading. You're deciding whether to cut that winner. You're deciding whether to hold on to that loser. And understanding why you're making those decisions is a good step into becoming a better trader. All right, guys, so those are little hidden nuggets of trading wisdom from Jesse Livermore. Reminiscence of a Stock Operator. The book, if you haven't yet read it, which I think many of you have, if you're subscribers, I appreciate the support, and you've probably seen this, we talked about this before, and you probably have read it multiple times. If you're new here, just stumbling across this video, good starting book to read if you haven't yet. All right, guys, take care, keep your risk managed. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.